Today, I will get off my grandstand here and welcome to the Brain Trust. Tracee, you have recently added your third location. And so it really spurred, I think, a great conversation about different ways to add locations. And in a nutshell, there you are. In a nutshell, it's build or buy. All right.
That's right.
And you've done both.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought it would be great to get you on because it's relatively recent, not as recent as Candice opening up her second location, because that was less than a week ago, but still pretty recent. So you really had a problem to solve, which is, let me lead you there, that led you to a third location.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Yes, we've owned our third location 2.5 months. And the primary reason I purchased it was because we've got at my flagship store, which is the one I've owned for 12 years. It's our largest and most biggest revenue generator in my businesses. We need a pretty significant remodel. We're outgrowing our space. Our space is old and dated. And so we're needing to basically come in and almost gut it and rebuild. But the problem is if you do that, as you all know, I've been, in fact, at one of the 2 to 10 seminars last year, I brought this as a problem. How do you do that? How do you do a major remodel like that and not completely shut the business down? Okay, and this is going to be probably an 8-week project. And so we started brainstorming all different things that we could do, my leadership team and I, and we came up with some things, they were kind of bizarre, but brainstorming's that, right? You just pull everything that you can to keep revenue coming in. And then one day, it just kind of dawned on me. It was one of those shower moments, Tom, you've heard me talk about that I have sometimes, is I thought, there's a salon, we're an Aveda salon. There was a Nevada salon about 3.5 miles from my location. It's not a small footprint, but it's a very small salon, so they've got like 5 stylists in over 2,000 square feet. And I knew the owner somewhat. And so I thought, you know what, I wonder if he would be interested in selling, because I had kind of heard a couple of years ago through the grapevine that he was a virtual owner like myself, but it just wasn't really working out for him. So I reached out to his daughter, who's their manager there, and asked her to call me. And I just said, hey, I know this is completely out of the blue, but what are the odds that you guys might be wanting to sell? Now, this was in February. And she said, oh my goodness. She said, I can't believe you're calling me, because in January, my dad and I had our a call, and he told me that this was going to be the year he was going to sell the business. And she said, let me have him call you. And literally 3 weeks later, that was in February. It took a while, of course, because I didn't want to buy it 3 weeks later. I needed about 6 weeks, but I bought it on May 1st. So literally it took about 6 weeks to close the deal. And he was so anxious to sell. He sold it to me as an asset only sell, which was just ridiculously low for the value of that business. And now I've got 3 locations.
So in this particular case, it is a purchase. And let's stay with this one a little bit longer. So it's actually a creative solution. I mean, because you reach capacity, and you did the numbers and found that not only the build out, but the time the business would be closed was a huge investment.
Right.
So a really great, so this is really adding a third location as opposed to increasing or expanding location 1 or 2, because you would have had to put money into 1 or 2, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And what the beauty of this deal is I had been in that salon one other time, because about 6 or 7 years ago, when the two owners ago bought it, they had approached us about buying it, and we weren't interested at the time because we had just opened up a second location. But I knew that was a very large salon, and so I can accommodate not only their staff there, but all of my staff at my Denton location while we're doing our rebuild.
Wow.
And it's only 3 miles for our guests to drive to a different location.
So there's pros and cons to opening a business from scratch, and with a white space, all right,
yeah.
Clean shell. And you bought two and you opened one on your own. So just by way of summary, what are some of the pros of a purchase, as well as some of the cons of a purchase?
Okay, so like you said, my first and my last have been purchases. I have bought a business that is up and running. And the beauty of both of those, of course, when you're doing your due diligence, you get financials, from the owner. And I'm always looking for two things. I'm looking to see if the business has been able to run without the owner being a producer. So in other words, if you remove that producing owner out of the revenue stream, do you still have anything left? So both businesses that I bought, the owners had already stepped back from working behind the chair or in the business on a daily basis. That was appealing to me. The pros of that are you've got a revenue stream coming in already. You don't have to buy furniture and fixtures. You don't have to buy product. You don't have to hire people, so it's running from day one. The downside of that is, as we all know, you can buy all those furniture and fixtures and products, but you can't buy people. Right. So you have to be very patient and very strategic in how you go in, one, and just even announce the sale so that you don't scare everybody off from day one. Right. And then two, like this location that we've owned for the last 2.5 months, we have done nothing but go in there and say, how can we help? We have not changed one thing that they're doing in that business, although they do have some opportunity, but we're just going in from a perspective of how can we help them? And then slowly but surely we will, bring them into our culture and our way of doing business.
All right, let's go to the pros and cons of building.
Okay, so my middle location was a brand new build. I like to keep my salons within about 30 minutes of each other, so that my management team doesn't have too far to drive. And so this one we built from a cold gray shell. The advantages of that is we got to pick the strategic location. So we worked with a business consultant, a Nevada business consultant, because that's who we are. And they helped us pick a high traffic, very lucrative location that almost set us up for immediate success as far as having visibility to the public. Okay. So, it was a brand new space. We got to pick the layout. We got to pick the design and the ergonomics and everything that's so important that goes into all of that. We got to pick that. And you get a fresh new start. The cons is that fresh new start means that you're probably working largely, if not completely, with brand new people on your team. So you've had to recruit and you've had to hire and you've had to train, all while you're also doing the build out, right? And so that was pretty stressful. One of the ways that we kind of gave ourselves a little bit of a leg up on ensuring that we had the right culture and the right people over there is we seeded that location with two of our top performers from one of our other locations. So they moved over there. They wanted to move to that area. We moved them over there and they've been running that store for us.
Cons, capital investment also.
Yeah. Let me not forget that one. Yeah, I actually owe more money. It's a smaller footprint and I owe more money on that fresh build out than I do on either one of the ones that I bought that were already up and running.
Yeah. So this is awesome. And what I'd love to do is I'd love to have you stick around, Tracee, and let me invite Candice into the conversation. Okay. So Candice Gliatto, there you are. Good early morning to you, Candice. How are you?
I'm doing good. Good morning.
We've got Texas and we got California. California being you're up bright and early, but you usually join us anyway. Yeah. Congratulations again on your 399 days at this point, your streak?
Yeah, yesterday was 399.
All right. So obviously a key lag indicator towards financial success when you have that kind of discipline. So congratulations. And your grand opening. So you are officially multi-location. Bravo. Let's give Candice a little virtual round of applause here.
Thank you.
You know, you and I, you're also a Qnity educator and a coach. And we had this conversation. Both of us were thinking the same thing. I think we talked about maybe 2 weeks ago. I thought, you know, wouldn't it be great if you chronicle your experience of going from 1 to 2 locations and use it as a way to educate and help others through the process? Because I've really, in all my time and, you know, specializing in multi-location, I've never seen sort of a turnkey way to go from 1 to 2. But I had no idea. In fact, even when I brought this up yesterday, your process. And your grand opening in your second location seems to have gone very smoothly without stress. Yeah. Of course, that's easy for me to say. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, like the logistics of getting it set up and built, and you know, the training and just getting everything prepared for opening was very stress-free because we had a really good plan. And we used Qnity tools. So
you're going to show us. I was kind of blown away when I saw what you did. But let me just make a comment to our members of our community this morning. Is that in looking at multi-location for a very long time, you know, 2 to 10s around over 12 years, it's very rare to cross state lines. Very rare. And I can count on my 10 fingers here how many in that category have crossed state lines. It's very difficult. So I just want to say now, let's be clear. This is a full state away. This is not a drive away. This isn't 30 miles away or 3.5 miles. You're in the Bay Area, and this was Portland. So it's quantumly harder to open a second location when you cross state lines. Agreed?
I mean, I don't know any different.
You don't know any different.
This is my second location, but you know, or my first multi-location venture. But you know, I would assume so. I have the right people in place though, which makes things a lot different. You know, I have really, really strong leader, somebody that's worked with me for several years, is very, very committed to our mission and the success. So, you know, that is definitely a huge piece, and I would never attempt it without that.
Back to Tracee for a moment. So Tracee, let's not jump past you and your expansion and the importance of strong leadership in the form of Melody and other members of your team, and really being a huge factor. Would you agree with that, Tracee?
Oh, 1000%. Not only, you know, I've got a unique business model in that I'm a virtual owner. You know, I don't work in my businesses every day. I kind of laugh and tell them, you know, I sign the contracts and pay the bills. They do everything else. And yes, without that strong leadership team, which is comprised of Melody, which is my director of operations for the enterprise. So she runs my business like it was her business. And then I've got an educator, an enterprise educator. And then I've got, you know, team leads and educators at each location. And that's critical.
So Candice, what we talked about is maybe you even doing a breakout or something at 2 to 10 on this. And when I saw what you put together yesterday, it's still quite raw because, I mean, it's less than a week opening, but why not? And Tracee, you're going to totally dig this, by the way. Why don't you take the screen over? And if I need to do permissions or whatever, I'll be ready to do that. But just give us sort of a glimpse in how you approach this from a pre-planning standpoint and how really a cocktail of tools such as 9grids, whatever, was a big part of your process. So we'll have you kind of take us through. We're just going to do a quick abbreviated version today, and then we can unpack more in the future, but go for it.
Okay. Yeah. So, well, before I share my screen, that was like definitely like the logistics setup. Where I started, of course, was with my financial plan and with my accountant, and we created a break-even analysis and just made sure that the whole thing had the opportunity to pencil out at some point. That was definitely the starting point. Then it was several months of negotiating the lease and getting that situation settled. And then once we finally signed, it was like, okay, we have the green light. What has to happen now? It's just like far away, and then all of a sudden here. So we started by taking a 5 functions approach. So I'm going to share my screen here. And basically, similar to what you were saying, I have a director of operations that is involved in both locations, and her name's Ashley. She's like my right-hand woman. Her and I just sat down at my kitchen island and just started throwing things on 9grids, like all the things that needed to happen. And so we went function by function. So we've got, our marketing, our education. So on the left here, you can see like what the to-do list was. And on the right, you can see as things got checked off the list. So started by just brain dumping everything on these 9grids for each function. And then the next step was going back through the 9grids and delegating who was going to do what and when it needed to be done by. And then we transferred it to a 13-week planner. And so here's mine. And then Ashley, who's our operations director, she had like her big things that she had to do leading up to the opening, which was over here at the end of the 13 weeks. Same thing with Adam, who's the location manager. He was in charge of like the decor and then a lot of recruitment efforts and just being there for the local stuff because he lives there. And every week we had our meeting and we said, hey, how did it go last week? Did we get everything done? What's next? And the ball just kept rolling and it just rolled all the way to opening. So, that's the short version of the story, but it was pretty darn smooth when it came to the things that we had control over, It was great. The only thing we forgot one thing. We forgot to bring gift cards up there, but they're in the mail and now we're good to go.
Otherwise, nothing fell through the cracks from your assessment?
No. Hiring we knew was going to be a challenge. We have only two team members so far, and the next phase of that it's in here somewhere. Let's see. The next phase of that is just of this project is like a heavy focus on hiring. So here's the planner for the next phase, and then everybody's got their jobs, and a lot of it is focused around recruitment. And we have actually had a lot of interest so far, and now that the space is complete, and it's been pretty seamless and I don't want to make it sound overly easy, like opening a second location is hard. Like it's not like I breezed through it, but having the tools and then having the right leaders in place was huge, and I couldn't imagine doing it without both. So
Tracee, I've been involved in opening up locations too, and I have to be honest and transparent with everybody. I wish the hell I had that type of approach and that type of 13-week countdown, because, it just gets absorbed in all the rest of your work. It's not like Melody just, cut things off. I mean, so Candice, it's really well done. Thank you for sharing. And I'm frankly a little envious because I wish that I would have had that process many, many years ago to create seamless location opening, whether it's a store up in Aspen, which I was an owner in, or Denver-based business, or distribution, or owning salons. I mean, really awesome. Tracee, what's your reaction when seeing that?
Yeah, what I liked about it, because, of course, you have to have a plan, right, to get anything done, but using those Qnity tools, and Candice, good job, using the Qnity tools to lay it out, in such a structured approach, so much easier than using something like Microsoft Project or, an Excel spreadsheet, or something like that. And the reason I'm throwing those out there is because, been there, done that. But that approach was very impressive. And yeah, great job.
Thank you.
So, so multi-location is different, and it's this whole conversation today is about opening up a second or third or whatever, and pros and cons of buy or build. Candice, you just did a build. All right, you started from scratch. Tracee, you shared with us that you had 2 buys and 1 build. There's a lot of different ways to get there. And, I thought it would be really good to bring a focus back to multi-location. And we do have the, 2 to 10 coming up in the fall. I think we had a slide up there. It's the middle of October. And I'm glad to bring multi-location into the conversation. I think that many are in a growth mode right now. And Tracee, what I love that you did is you transcended, which was a very easy and natural path, and that's just expand within your space. And in certain cases that makes sense, in certain cases it doesn't, but it seems to work. And there are a lot of salons for sale, and it's a really great part of a transition option. Most transitions I see are to key employees. But transitions like, that you were just involved with, Tracee, is a great route to go. And many successful businesses is, absorbing another local business that's in the growth mode versus a go mode. So.
Yeah. So Tom, can I add just a thought to that? So here's what, and I think all of us can relate in some form or another. This gentleman that I bought from had bought that business because his daughter was an employee there. Okay. And their vision together was that she would run that location, be his on-site manager, and work behind the chair. And that was going to be her. He bought that as a gift to her, actually, and that eventually he would sell it to her. What they found out is that she didn't want that. Okay. After she got into it, not only did she not want it, he didn't have the beauty industry background to be a good support for her. So she was kind of, and he even said, he told me, or when he did the transition, he hamstrung her a lot because of the financial decisions that he was making weren't in the best interest of the business. So one of the selling points to his team when he announced that we had bought them was that they were bringing in a leadership team and an owner that knew the industry. And now all of a sudden, overnight, his daughter has a team to be a part of. And so I think there's a lot of that happens too, maybe a little bit of disillusionment that goes on, and they are looking for owners that care.
That's not just an add-on. That's like a key point there. That's a really important insight, is that, from a team standpoint, what a great thing. Because normally there's this general assumption that, new owners mean, is negative. Everything's going to get ruined. They're not going to be here every day. They don't understand us. And, a lot of times we see transitions like this, though, with a lot of excitement by team members, because there is this vitality, there's this new energy and all of that, new commitment. So great call out, Tracee. Thank you for that. So, all right. Well, listen, I tell you what, we'll thank both of you, and each of you get another $1 million light bulb. We're going to have to get a stand for people like Screw In. And but both of you are such great contributors to the community, the Qnity community and the pro beauty community. Tracee, I do understand from Aaron and Sonia that Aaron did a podcast with you, and apparently it's amazing. And I can't wait, because it's part of your story I don't think that I've heard before. So can't wait to hear it.
I put myself out there, very vulnerable, but I think there's some good lessons there for others. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So thanks for doing that, and we'll have to watch for it. All right. And then Candice, Thanks for joining us, especially on this early morning. I know this has been a really busy stretch for you, but it's great that you tune in like this. So let's give both these guys a virtual round of applause. Put a little note in the comments, lots of light bulb moments from these two here. And the conversation with both of you will continue. So
awesome. Thanks, Tom. Congratulations, Tracee.
You too, Candice.
All right, so let me see what else I have here. Just a couple notes. We are on next week, and sponsor. 2 to 10 is not officially a sponsor, but just save the date. It is October 16th and 18th. It is going to be in St. Petersburg, a beautiful property down there. So enrollment will open on that soon. And again, sponsored by Qnity Financial Wellness for Pro Beauty, whether it's bringing financial literacy in as a benefit to your team, whether it's joining our SBO workshop, which is led by Candice, or it's being part of the school community. We'd love to work with you. If we're not already, you go to qnityforschools.com for a demo. And thanks to Lightheart Sanders. I know we had several members of the team joining us today, and they've been great sponsors, as well as Pivot Point. So closing thoughts. I don't know, I go back to my light bulb moment of the week and just some of the data out there about the beauty industry and just how I shake my head. So I'm really looking forward to providing more solid points of reference so we can really attract the kind of people that this industry deserves. So, all right, have a great rest of the week. Thanks again to Tracee and Candice and the rest of the team that helped make this session possible today. Bye now.